this episode of Over 40 and Unapologetically Nerdy, and join me as I keep calm and carry on with books, music, and script treatment. Why change what I'm actually not only reading and listening to from the morning news show, but also some podcasts I've actually had to stop listening to. And why it's going to be important for me and my sanity to continue with my podcast. What did they call this? Some type of commitment that I'm making to myself. I don't want this to be another list of obituaries. I want this to be a celebration of happiness, health, creatively, and positivity. You can get that other sad sack stuff from other sources. And that's about it. And I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I've enjoyed creating it. So I just finished up playing Shape by Vibe Tracks, and the reason why I went back to this more upbeat music and created the copyright-free bop playlist is because although I find the higher tones and the bells, etc., when I do yoga soothing, I also like the dance breaks that I get to take by sitting in my seat or swerving around in my living room when I take a break from my daytime desk job. And that's why I wanted to go back to living it up and living as much as I can, because I am old and I have a little bit of rhythm. But it's just so much fun when you get to discover new music and you get to get your bop on. So that was the previous track mix was Shaped by the Bop Track. And now I hope you're going to enjoy Diamond Ortiz's Turn Up to Burn Up, because I really like how this particular sound and how it really makes me feel. And it also goes really well with my Not So Perfect Life. This beat, I'm actually after page 16, I'm almost 60%. I'm done with Sophie Kinsella's book, and it's taking an amazing turn, or interesting turn. Katie has lost her job, and her boss, being the zone out person that she is, fires her. So she has to go back home to Somerset, which is not a bad thing, because she actually does all the promo for her father's glamping glamping deal. And he is one of those people that always has some quick rich scheme. But this glamping thing is actually going to be probably one of his best yet, because his current girlfriend is Martha Stewart of sorts, and they are able to put together an amazing experience glamping in yurts on his property. But of course, she tries to submit the pamphlet to Demeter before she gets fired, and then afterwards Demeter comes on holiday with her spoiled kids and her out of touch husband, and she of course wants to change the program to suit her And she ends up going on some wild nature walk, and she gets like sucked or dumped in some quicksand. She gets out, but that's when she actually recognizes Kate or Caddy, and she thinks that she is having a affair with Alex Astolis, but she really isn't. That was just a rumor started up by the vicious mean girls of the office, and she finds out that Alex is actually coming there to probably fire her. And she ropes, then she recognizes Katie. It just took her getting almost drowned in quicksand to recognize Katie, but she ropes Katie in to get the deal from Alex. And it would just make sense if she would just go ahead and tell her father and Biddy, that's the father's girlfriend, what actually did happen. And why doesn't she think she can't make this glamping thing and bed and breakfast thing bigger? And she could still stay in Somerset. She could have the best of both worlds, and everyone would be the wiser, and she would still be happy. Why can't she lean into Katie of Somerset? That is the one thing that doesn't make sense to me. She actually had some idea, fabulous life that she wanted to lead in London, and she could have a fabulous life, but just in Somerset, being just her authentic self, Katie Brenner. But the hilarity of all the things that she subjects Demeter to is completely hilarious, and it speaks to how Sophie Kinsella actually creates her books, and sometimes her characters are a little bit tragic, but at the same time, they always go through these things, pull themselves up by their bootstraps, and are the better for it. So I'm actually very much interested in the next half of this book and see how it all plays out. The help that she gives her father, and the words that I was trying to remember at the top of the show, and to describe my podcast, they're going to describe her or her career in general. It's going to be her passion product, but I think she's actually going to get paid, and get paid well, for being very good at what she does. So, kudos to Katie Brenner. Demeter may be redeemed, but I don't know. I think she's just giving us more fodder to hate her. It seems like her life is not so perfect. They have a big mortgage. Nobody wants to rent out that house. Her kids hate her, and the job that she has worked so hard to make look fabulous, they're about to kick her to the curb. So there you go. And if Katie would just realize and stop trying to compete with images in glossy magazines or glossy filtered Instagram posts, maybe she would maybe it would be easier for her to just lean into Katie Brenner Somerset and really be and live that fabulous life of positivity that she wants to lead. It doesn't really matter where it is, whether it's London or Somerset or Birmingham for that matter. She could just live a life that she could be just happy in. my version of the Heiress or Washington Square Park, the Harlem edition. I am taking a master class taught by Jodie Foster. And I just started it, and in the introduction, she gave a little bit of a rundown on what a director's job does. And one of the things that they do is visualize each scene and how the scene's going to get together. It's more than just the script itself. It's visualizing how and where the actors and actresses actually say those words. From the costumes to the lighting, all of that. And what is the vision for the end product? What I found in other remakes like Pride and Prejudice was it seems like when they tried to update it, they went too far beyond. Not only were the actors and actresses wrong for their parts, the locations that they chose to shoot didn't fit with the overall theme of what that particular story was trying to say. My hope is I can come up with a full vision and be able to translate it into words and give some ideas about just how I would like it to look. So I start out with the first chapter or the first act of this particular screenplay. And I call it 134th Street in Amsterdam because that's the corner of the house and the shop where the actual location, very similar to the home in Washington Square Park that they shot the Heiress. But it's in Harlem. I see the opening is a blurred screen where you kind of swoop in, or it fades in, and it's a marriage ceremony at the Lady of Lords in Harlem. The mother is in a pink dress with a big old flowery hat, and the father is in his dress uniform. She would go on to graduate from Columbia University School of Medicine, and the mother is actually the chief of pediatrics. I know, at Harlem Hospital. Go figure. The husband, Austin Sloper Sr., is actually in the military. She kisses him, and then after that, there's a notice where he survived Nam, and then there is footage of the shellings in Grenada. He's one of the few Americans lost in that conflict in 1983. There's two men in obvious army gear standing through the stained glass door that Catherine would eventually lock Maurice out of. And it was the two men that came to tell the family about the death of their father. And then you hear Austin Jr. screaming to his mom for to come to the door. Then fast forward about 10 years later, you see little Katie jumping rope in front of the house, keeping an eye on the street to see her big brother get off the bus when he comes back from Lady of Our Lords. They drop him actually there. And then in a brief tragic moment, you hear shots ringing out and Lavinia freaking out. And they start screaming for AJ or Austin Jr. Ophelia takes a look out of the window. She looks at the clock, and the first thing she screams is AJ's name. Both run out of the home towards the church, searching all sides of the street, and then they see her shaking her brother, trying to wake him up, because there's a moment when he gets off the bus and starts running towards his sister, grabs her and covers her with his body. They flip him back, and there's a obvious bullet hole in his head, and he's dead. Ophelia flings Katie aside and screaming, why? And then Lavinia says, you've done it now. They then fade into the graveside service, and there's just crying, and then she drops a single rose into his open grave. And Katie tries to take her mother's hand, but she visibly shrugs her off and stares at her. Lavinia, the aunt, grabs her shoulder and directs her to the car. And the only thing she says to Katie is, for God's sake, Lavinia, straighten her bow. Pull down your dress. Do you always have to look so slovenly, is what she says to her only daughter. And I think this basically sums up subsequent scenes where she never feels, Katie that is, never feels that she's accepted by either her mother or Lavinia for that reason. And for that, it's going to follow along the storyline of rejection and cruelty that basically describes, and you can feel the entire time in the Heiress and also in the later iteration of Washington Place. Oh, excuse me, Washington Square Park. I'm sorry. So next up is Bizzie by The Grand Affair. You enjoyed that Bizzie by The Grand Affair, And next up is Easy Trip Trap, and this is how I'll be ending the show. And I hope you enjoy this selection. And remember, get your bop on, if it's only for just a couple of minutes today, to keep the flow, to keep the blood circulating and to clear your mind. This podcast is my path of entertainment and a form of therapy and an outlet for creative freedom. But if you don't have this outlet and you're struggling with depression, anxiety, or addiction, call 1-800-273-8255. It's available 24 hours a day, every day. And there's also an on-site chat feature at suicidepreventionlifeline.org/chat/. If vodka is your problem, call 1-800-662-HELP. That's 1-800-662-4357. Then there's also apps like TalkSpace and Doctor on Demand that will actually be able to help you right where you are in the privacy of your car at a fraction of the cost of conventional therapy. It's okay not to be okay, and it's definitely okay to ask for help. Please navigate to www.Dale's Angels Inc. for all special offers and updates on nerd news, as well as you can drop me a line at TennesseeFroisReading@gmail.com or even leave me a 2-minute non-trolling message at 423-463-0658. All non-trolling messages may actually be read or played during the podcast. If you like what you're hearing and you want to support continued great content, please become a patron at podbean.com/The Talking Fro or put 5 on it and leave me a tip at paypal.me/Felicia DAI. And I hope you have enjoyed this podcast as much as